What's up, guys? It's Benny. You know the rule on this channel. When somebody shows you who they are, believe them. And more importantly, when somebody tells you who they are and what they're doing, you definitely believe them. Here's Joe Biden in 2020 explaining that his campaign is effectively the largest voter fraud operation in
we have put together, and you guys did it for our administration, the President Obama's administration before this. We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
You know, you can really see the dementia wearing on him there and the Parkinson's in his hands and his brain as it drifts away into the ether. Just straight up says the truth. This is actually what happens when you have these kind of mental diseases. You just end up saying things you're not supposed to say. And he said it. I put together the largest voter fraud organization in American history, in human history. Now, we do know of various cases, and we've covered them on this program, of federal charges for voter fraud. It's happened all around the country. There's voter fraud cases in every single state. Mass voter fraud is real, and it's a real problem in this country. However, we've never seen it foisted onto the national level from federal law enforcement as a major problem with major charges, right? We've never seen a big zoom out on a systemic voter fraud operation. And that's something that we were all hoping Kash Patel and Dan Bongino would do. Now, we've seen little snippets of this, right? Non-citizen charged with voting illegally, registering to vote, and casting ballots. Michigan has been pushed by the DOJ to look at like dozens of cases of non-citizens voting in the 2024 election. And we've seen charges here and there for criminal aliens voting in the 2024 election, that which the feds can prove. Ladies and gentlemen, Kash Patel on Joe Rogan's program said just last week that he found a room inside of the FBI where they were hiding an enormous amount of damning evidence. Here's what Kash said, and we think we know what was in that room now.
As the director of the FBI, the former Russiagate guy, when I first got to the Bureau, found a room that Comey and others hid from the world in the Hoover building, full of documents and computer hard drives that no one had ever seen or heard of. Locked the key and hid access and just said, no one's ever going to find this place.
What?
Yeah. So my guys are going through that right now.
What's in there?
A lot of stuff. I mean, that's the thing. People are like, well, okay, go arrest him. And I'm like, okay, well, how about you let me run a methodical investigation while I give over information?
What's in there exactly? A lot of stuff. And Kash Patel is horrified at the contents of that room, saying that it was kept secret for a reason, and now we know. What was in there, ladies and gentlemen? Breaking this morning, massive news that is shattering my timeline right now. The FBI has located documents that detail alarming allegations related to the 2020 U.S. election, including allegations of interference by the Communist Party of China. I've immediately declassified these materials and turned all the documents over to Chairman Grassley for further review. Chairman Grassley is chairman of the Judiciary in the Senate, very, very powerful position. FBI gives Congress intel on Chinese plot to create fake mail-in ballots in 2020. What is this? FBI Director Kash Patel turned over to Congress intelligence report raising concerns China had mass-produced fake U.S. driver's licenses to carry out a scheme to hijack the 2020 election with fake mail-in ballots for Democrat Joe Biden. The newly declassified intelligence reports from August 2020 weren't corroborated or fully investigated, and instead were recalled from intelligence agencies at about the time then FBI Director Chris Wray testified that there were no plots of foreign interference ahead of the 2020 election. Interesting. New documents were turned over to the Senate Judiciary Committee, Chuck Grassley, who first raised concerns the Bureau about intelligence wasn't fully vetted and instead was just dismissed as evidence of fake licenses. Thanks to the oversight work, Chairman Grassley, the FBI continues to provide unprecedented transparency for the People's Bureau. Specifically, these include allegations of the Chinese Communist Party to manufacture fake driver's licenses and ship them to the United States for the purpose of facilitating fraudulent mail-in ballots. Of course, as you know, getting a mail-in ballot makes the ballot worth about as much as the paper is printed on, or less. What this means is that when you have a driver's license, you can request a mail-in ballot in one of these states, or many of these states don't even require driver's licenses. And so if you mass produce driver's licenses, then you can mass produce ballots and you can mail those ballots in, and they just get counted in a giant stack. Nobody connects the ballot to any number or any verifier. There's no watermark. There's nothing. There's no way of telling if those ballots are actual citizens. And we know as a matter of fact that this is a Chinese non-citizen, was voting in Michigan, cast a ballot for Kamala Harris in Michigan. This is in our election in 2024, the most recent election. So what happens next, ladies and gentlemen? We need to look into severely this first major federal breaking case of mass systemic voter fraud. And this, by the way, is something that Donald Trump warned us about. Amazing how this works, man. The dude has just been right. It's like he knows. It's like he knows. And he does know. President Trump, upon announcing that he's running in 2024, so this is his announcement speech. So I'm going to run again in 2024, Trump says. This is the year 2023. This is November of 2023. Donald Trump says, listen, China played a huge role in stealing the election from me in 2020. I know it and you know it. Get a load of this.
No president had ever sought or received $1 for our country from China until I came along, and we were getting hundreds of billions of dollars. Many people think that because of this, China played a very active role in the 2020 election. Just saying. Sure, that didn't happen. Instead,
classic Trump there. Ladies and gentlemen, Kash Patel just declassified shows China produced fake mail-in ballots to hijack the 2020 election for Biden. FBI Director Wray hid the reports, probably in a secret little room, and lied to Congress. 2020 was stolen, FBI Director. China mass-produced IDs, fake IDs, to stuff 2020 ballot boxes for Biden. The CCP planned to manufacture fake licenses, ship them to the United States, facilitate fraudulent mail-in voting. Now that Kash Patel is verified, and many of us already knew that the 2020 election was stolen, China's help, can we expect arrests for treason for anyone involved? Remember Trump saying everybody would be going to jail. This is big news. The report was unverified, not fully investigated, and recalled when Christopher Wray was sworn in. Christopher Wray, very interestingly, testified that there's, nothing really going on here.
I think we've seen any ongoing efforts to target election infrastructure like we did in 2016. We certainly are seeing and have never stopped seeing really since 2016 efforts to engage in malign foreign influence by the Russians. So that's the use of false personas, fake media accounts, social media stuff, the trolls, the bots, all of that stuff that's described at great length, both in the ICA and in some of the indictments that have been returned since then. The efforts to sow divisiveness and discord on both sides of an issue and to generate controversy and to generate distrust in our democratic institutions, on our electoral process, that's very much ongoing. Other countries like China, for example, have very active malign foreign influence efforts in this country. Theirs is a little bit different than the efforts that I was just describing, but it's still very, very active and very serious. It's more geared toward, in their instance, it's more geared towards trying to shift our policy and our public opinion to be more pro-China on a variety of issues.
Okay, so he's saying there was no mass voter fraud and there was no fake ballots or anything like that. It's a patent lie. And he had the evidence. Apparently it was hidden at the FBI, and Kash found it and has now turned it over to the Senate. I've said this all along. China's behind mass election fraud on the West Coast. Our vote-by-mail system is easy to cheat. Remember those pallets and pallets and pallets of ballots showing up late in the evening, being shoved into garbage bins, being shoved into garbage bags. Remember how obvious it was? It was so obvious that not only was Joe Biden bragging about it, not only is it caught on video, it was literally caught on CNN. This is just my absolute all-time favorite clip here from the 2020 election proving the voter fraud.
Ballot drop box and
here you can see the CNN reporter in Ohio.
Cuyahoga County, Ohio. You can see this woman right here casting her vote. Did you vote for Reagan or Jimmy Carter? Carter, okay.
Okay, so she voted for Jimmy Carter, an election that Jimmy Carter lost all, like 49 states. Okay, so she's a Democrat activist, obviously.
We don't want to get too personal with people here, but you
Long
can
time.
see.
And then look at the amount of ballots she has. Look at the amount of ballots she has. So she has a fistful of ballots. Look at that. She has a literal stack of ballots. Now, of course, in Ohio, they have stricter election laws than most. And so here she is in 2020 with a vote drop box with fistfuls of ballots. Where exactly did she get that? A minivan full of ballots. How long was she there? How many ballots are in that minivan? She's wearing a mask, so you can't see her face, and she has fistfuls of ballots. Yeah, you know what? Every single day, President Trump grows more right. Trump was right. Trump was right. Trump was right. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe for people to go to jail for this. See ya.